Former Democratic presidential contender Bernie Sanders tells CBS this morning he believes the vast majority of his supporters will back former Vice President Joe Biden, even though many, including Sanders' former press secretary, say they won't. In his first network TV interview since endorsing the presumptive Democratic nominee, the Vermont senator spelled out the issues where he expects Joe Biden to adopt a more progressive stance.
On day one of my campaign, what I said is that if I lose, I will be there to support the Democratic nominee, because it is absolutely imperative that we defeat Donald Trump, who, in my view, is the most dangerous, irresponsible president in the modern history of this country.
That's an argument against Donald Trump, but making the argument for Joe Biden is a different matter.
To defeat Donald Trump, to me, and make sure that he is not reelected is enormously important. So if you want to make the point that Joe Biden's views are not mine, no kidding. I think everybody in America knows that.
I made a little list of some of the things that have been central to your campaign, and I'm hoping you can let me know which of these you think could be part of a Biden administration. Universal health care is a biggie. Free college for all, canceled college debt, national rent control, a ban on fracking, a wealth tax, marijuana legalization, a 50% reduction in the prison population. These are all things you've campaigned on that have made you popular. Joe Biden doesn't support any of them. Which do you see him moving on?
Well, I think you will see him moving on making public colleges and universities tuition free for families earning less than $125,000, not where I was. I wanted more. I think his views on climate change are not my views, but I think he is prepared to invest many hundreds of billions of dollars into sustainable energies like wind and solar, and in the process, create a whole lot of jobs. I think on healthcare, he is not an advocate of Medicare for all, as I am, but I think he's prepared to come forward with some ideas.
Has he promised you anything?
Well, we have talked about a number of issues, and you will see those evolving, coming out, I believe, in the next weeks and months.
Joe Biden is going to need every vote that he can get. How do you improve on your 2016 record to make sure that...
My 2016 record was a fine record. I think in this house right here, I got a couple of letters from Hillary Clinton thanking me for the very strong support that I gave her. I did rally after rally, state after state. Look, the issue is that the American people are going to have to make a fundamental decision. I'm going to play a role in that. Do we come together to defeat somebody who is a pathological liar, somebody who does not believe in the rule of law, somebody who is prepared to give massive tax breaks to billionaires and ignore the needs of working families, or do we elect Joe Biden as president? I think the choice is pretty clear.
I imagine you will be fundraising for Joe Biden.
You know, we will decide on what we're going to do with fundraising. All I would say is that we're going to do everything that we can to make sure that Donald Trump is not reelected.
How do you campaign in the midst of this pandemic? Should there be conventions? Can you have rallies in the late summer, maybe?
Well, nobody can predict that. The last thing that we want to do is to do anything which gets more people sick and kills more people. That is the last thing that we want to do. So I think that whether or not there'll be a convention remains to be seen. I don't know, nor does anybody else, when rallies will be taking place, when candidates will be able to be out on the streets, shaking hands and talking to people face to face. Nobody knows that.
I think it's indisputable that this virus has exposed how medically and financially fragile many sectors of our society are.
That's right.
In that tragedy and our response to it, do you think society may reevaluate the need for the policies you've been arguing for 30 years now?
The answer is yes. This pandemic, the economic collapse, has exposed the fragility of our healthcare system and our economy in terms of protecting working families. That is a lesson that I think many Americans are going to learn from this.
We also asked Senator Sanders about other concerns some supporters have, including a sexual assault allegation against Joe Biden. His accuser reportedly filed a police report last week, now claiming Biden assaulted her in 1993 when she was working in his Senate office. Published reports indicate her story has changed over the years. Biden's campaign calls the allegation, quote, untrue, and says the alleged incident, quote, absolutely did not happen, close quote. Here's what Bernie Sanders had to say about it.
One of your most important allies, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, said recently that she thinks it's legitimate and relevant to talk about sexual assault allegations against Joe Biden. Do you agree?
I think it's relevant and to talk about anything. And I think any woman who feels that she was assaulted has every right in the world to stand up and make her claims.
Do you think that should weigh significantly in the mind of...
I think that she has the right to make her claims and get a public hearing, and the public will make their own conclusions about it. And I just don't know enough about it to comment further.
All right.
So as you can see, guys, it was a really wide-ranging conversation. In addition to all of those topics, I also asked him about Joe Biden's pick for vice president, who that should be. And Bernie Sanders told me he'll leave it up to Joe, but he hopes that it'll be as progressive a choice as possible.
Yeah, we're all waiting to see what that's going to be. But I found, Tony, let's go back to the first part of the interview when you asked him about fundraising. I found his answer very interesting on that. It didn't sound like I can't wait to get out there with or without this pandemic. Did you take anything away from that answer?
The fact that he's not right now committing to fundraising for Joe Biden tells me that might be a point of leverage for him to try to get some of these ideas that are not part of the Biden platform into that platform before the election.